It's a wonderful practice. It's a wonderful practice. Each of us came here because of something in our life, something that sparked a deeper question. Yeah? A question about the essence of our existence, about what's it all about what lies beyond the surface of things, about what lies beyond what we've been conditioned to believe. Yeah. But to a certain extent, the conundrum we find ourselves in is that the question is already tangled in the net of our conceptual clinging. And in a strong way, it's actually shaped by it. As long as we operate from a place of knowing, we're caught. We're caught in the gravity of the self. And we're unable to escape the pull of reason. And so the self becomes a satellite in the orbit or service of, our prejudices, our fixed ideas. So what happens when we let go of knowing? Oh no. Oh no. We couldn't possibly do that, yeah? There's so much stability. There's so much knowledge. There's so much gravity in knowing, right? It's working out really well for all of you, right? Oh, there's a lot of suffering in that place, yeah? What happens when we release the need to resolve our questions and instead step into the truth of our lived experience? There was a philosopher, the Western philosopher we refer to him as, German philosopher. His name was Martin Heidegger. He passed away in 1976. He was born in 1889. I always think of him as being a classical philosopher, but then I forget he actually passed away during my lifetime. But he asked a lot of the same questions that we're talking about here right now. He was a German philosopher, widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in existential philosophy and phenomenology. Yeah? So his work explores the very nature of being, what it means to exist, and challenges many of the traditional Western philosophers who came before him, in particular a lot of our metaphysical assumptions that we have. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Who is this one that thinks? Heidegger argues that much of human life is actually spent in a state of what we would call inauthentic being, where individuals lose themselves in what might be loosely translated as the they. He called it das Man. This is not the English man. This is better looked at as the they or the one. It's a social force or a collective mode of being. It's conforming to social norms. It's conforming to some ideas of how we think we ought to be or how we think things should be and our expectations, rather than living in accordance with what he would refer to as our true essence. Some of this sound familiar? So this clinging to conceptual ideals, to social roles, to identities, to external validations, acts as a barrier to authentic self-understanding. It gets in the way of things. Yeah. We mistake these constructs for who we are, and then we turn away from the direct experience of being as it reveals itself in its ever-changing, undefinable, or ineffable reality. Heidegger would call for Kehre as an antidote to this. It requires confronting the finitude and the impermanence of existence. He would term it being towards death, all hyphenated, being towards death. In other words, looking at the truth of life and death, in the place of wonder of existence. And in so doing, we would peel back layers of illusion and discover what is most essential. Interesting, right? Some close parallels to some of what we talk about a lot here. But what is this Kehre? What is this radical turning that he's referring to? I think it's one thing to know the antidote from a conceptual ideation standpoint. It's another thing to actually step into it. There's a case in the Shoyoroku, the 87th case, and even though you can't get there with words, I think there's an example here that speaks to this turning towards radical authenticity. In the case, Sōzan Kyonyin, it's a master who lived during the late Tang Dynasty, so we're talking about the 9th or 10th century. He's often recognized as one of the key figures in solidifying and transmitting the Soto lineage. We are a practice center in the Soto lineage, right? So we're talking about one of our distant ancestors. So it places him in the flourishing period of Zen. This is a time that we might look at as the golden age, a time when Zen practice was deeply rooted in demonstrating this transmission that's outside of words and letters, and really focusing on direct experience. And it's characterized by a lot of the lively dialogues that we preserve in the Shoyoroku. The Shoyoroku, Book of Equanimity, it's usually the third collection I walk students through, but it's often known as the treasury storehouse of the Soto school. And in this case, Sōzan travels roughly 1,000 miles on foot in a state of pretty much abject poverty to ask a question of Isan. Isan is a master of a temple. He'd heard a teaching from afar, and he needed the matter explained. So here's the main case. Attention. Sōzan arrived at Isan's and asked, "I've heard that you say to be with or without words is like a vine dependent on a tree. When suddenly the tree falls, the vine withers. Where do the words return to?" Isan laughed aloud. "Ha ha ha ha." Sōzan said, "I've come 4,000 li, which is roughly 1,000 miles, selling cushions. Osho, how can you play around with me?" Isan called his attendant and told him to get some money and give it to that monk. Then he prophesied, "Later on, there'll be a one-eyed dragon who will enlighten you." Later, Sōzan left and arrived at Myosho's place and told him the same story. And Myosho observed, "I'd say that Isan was right from head to tail, but apparently he didn't meet up with the one who knows." Sōzan again asked, "When a tree falls and a vine withers, where do the words return to?" Myosho said, "Once again, you make Isan laugh." At these words, Sōzan had a realization and exclaimed, "From the first, Isan's laughter had a sword." So what's this all about? To be with or without words is like a vine dependent on a tree. When suddenly the tree falls, the vine withers. Where do words return to? We shape ourselves, right, on our conceptual understanding. Really, we define the perimeters of self this way. And we lose touch with our true suchness, with how we manifest or show up in this world. But who are we really? When the words drop away, what's there? That's the question. Is the answer that Isan gives. He just laughs. What's this all about? What's in that laugh? What's with any of the laughter that you guys display? What's in that? If I tell you a joke and you think it's corny, your laughter will betray you. It'll tell me the truth about your experience of my joke. That wasn't Isan's laugh. And I promise you that Isan's laugh was very genuine. Sōzan said, "I've come 4,000 li selling cushions. Osho, how can you play around with me?" So compelling. He's basically saying, I have made my way here on foot over 1,000 miles. The only way I've been able to do it is by selling cushions along the way. He had brought us sewing supplies and a modicum of cloth. And that's how he's been making his way across the country to ask his question. We'd say, "Oh, what a sad thing." "Oh, I don't know. What an amazing journey." A person who is that inclined to want to go see the truth, right? Who's willing to climb over hill and dale, completely in abject poverty, isn't all that sad. But Isan can see that he's not going to walk into that laughter. He's not going to appreciate where Isan is pointing. And so he does the least that he can do. He says, go get him a few coins. Let him continue his search. He says, that's horrible. He's leaving that man to his delusion. No. 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 That journey that he was making, the journey of 1,000 miles along the way, held the very answer to his quest. It was never far from him. It's never far from any of you when you cultivate the way-seeking mind. The drive down here for Yuchoku, yeah, held a lot of the same, had the same answer in it. Dogen always said that the idea of the way-seeking mind in and of itself is enlightenment. In other words, the state of wonder, the state of continually showing up over and over again, to face up to your fears, to face up to your own delusions, because that's what you do when you come here. We don't go have doksan so that everybody can walk away and go, oh, I have it all figured out. We all walk away going, I've got a lot more work to do. But the very fact that you walk up those stairs, each footstep you make, each landing of your foot is awakening. Yeah? Each moment you drive is awakening. It is kind of comical in the end, isn't it, though? Constantly striving and looking beyond the very activity that is awakening, wondering when we're going to get there, when you're here. Yeah? What wonder. He's insistent on continuing his search. That's fine. In one sense, I guess, it's sad in that we're saying he's never going to attain, but in another sense, none of us are ever have anything to attain. Yeah. But Isan sees something very special in this search. He says, at some point, he's going to wake up to what it is. And he says, later on, there'll be a one-eyed dragon, and they'll enlighten you. One-eyed dragon's going to wake you up. Each of you here needs to meet this one-eyed dragon for yourselves. Yeah. You've met the two-eyed scoundrel. You know that one very well, yeah? The one who has all this discriminating thought and all this judgment. Yeah? We think we need two eyes to see very clearly. That way I can see where it is in space. Yeah? That way I can judge it more clearly. Yeah? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. You've been content to play that part. But dropping the need for this and seeing with the clarity of this one eye, that eye is the same eye that everyone who wakes up sees through. That one eye is large enough for the entire universe to see through. Then your dragon nature is apparent. Yeah. Dragons go wherever they please. They can't be vanquished. Then you'll see the one who throughout all space and time constantly works to awaken everything, to pull everything into this awakened, the light of our awakened consciousness. Yeah. There'll be nowhere you can't go when you see through that one eye. So Sōzan hears the prophecy, but I don't think he quite picks up on it. So he keeps looking for the dragon. Maybe I'll find the dragon on the path. Maybe he's in the lake. It's like the Loch Ness Monster. You'll see it every once in a while if you just sit and watch very carefully. And in a sense, maybe he's right in that way, right? Just need to focus your eye on where it's actually going to appear. Yeah. So Sōzan says to me, Osho, I'd say that Isan was right from head to tail. I think you might have come in contact with that dragon. Yeah. But he didn't meet up with the one who knows. Didn't meet up with the one who knows. He's again intimating, he's pointing. That one is always at hand, yeah? Sōzan still doesn't pick up, so he asks the same question. When a tree falls and a vine withers, where do the words return to? Yeah. Osho says, once again, you make Isan laugh. And then finally he sees where it's pointing to. Maybe he hears Isan's roar of laughter again. Repeat for him. Maybe he himself recognizes that he's the butt of the joke, that small self itself is. Whatever it is, he lets it go. He sees the power of releasing his grip on conditioning, and he appreciates his true nature directly. He sees the true state of delusion within this awakening. He sees that the journey that he's been on, in and of itself, was awakening. And he just keeps stepping over it. He's always a nanosecond behind it, or a nanosecond in front of it. So the question turns to us. Why are we here? What is your burning question? Can you see how the nature of the question itself is shaped by our conceptual clinging? That we all take on the form of the vine that's clinging to this tree of reason, to the point where we believe, because it's shaped or conforms to that tree, that we are of that world, or we're of that essence, that we're of this essence of reason. When you abide within the essence of reason, oh, you've missed the whole thing. You've missed the whole thing. I could sit here and I could write a book about kissing somebody. I could write 10 volumes about it. You could read it exhaustively. How close would you get to the actual experience? Light years. And yet, your next breath, how would it be to explain that to somebody who's never taken in air? It's always right here. Yeah. If you step into your life without need for resolution, without need for judgment or idea, then you don't have to worry anymore. Then you've met the one-eyed dragon for yourself. What concepts or roles do you cling to for support? What do you not want to put down? What happens when those trees fall? Do you wither? Or do you discover the true vine that sustains you? You've spent your life seeing with these two eyes. Yeah? A lot of us have corrective lenses so we can see more clearly with them, because we don't want to let go of it as we age. Yeah? I guess I don't blame you. It does have its uses. Yeah? If you want to pass somebody, it helps to be able to have the depth of perception to know how fast you have to go. Yeah? But it's never going to help you see yourself very clearly. These two eyes of duality, right and wrong, self and other, with and without, just let that all go. Let the one-eyed dragon awaken within you and see through this clarity, or see with this clarity beyond judgment and striving. So you see, in the end, Heidegger came so close using the mind road. Yeah? And Sōzan is showing that final last step on the way. He's pointing to it for us all to see. He's doing it right now. Yeah. When you see through that one eye, dragon. Drop your concepts. Drop your judgments. Drop where you think you should be. Drop where you think you'll be after this retreat is over. And just be here right now. Yeah. You can hear Isan's laughter pealing. Every time you walk downstairs and go, oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to pass this koan. What the hell does this precept point to anyway? Where does this old man get off? Yeah. It's right there, my friends. See it in its sharpest. Know the joy hidden in confusion. The way is right here. Just look.